Hi, welcome to video number 4. We're going to be talking about understanding your habits and your weaknesses. If you understand your weaknesses, which usually fall into your bad habits, then you'll be able to focus on either resolving them or even strengthening them. So the goal of this video is not to break your habit just yet, but to pinpoint it, what triggers it, so that you can see when it happens. Weaknesses often contribute to bad habits, so we're going to look at this from your personality. Let me ask you some questions. What makes you stop? What makes you irritable? What makes you angry? What makes you want to quit? What are your bad habits? What are your weaknesses? Can you think when the bad habit happens? What are you doing specifically? And what are you doing right before it happens? Is there something that is consistent happening? And the reason why I want you to think carefully, and you can pause this video and just think about it or write down on a piece of paper your habits. Now, you might be one of the people out there who think you don't have any bad habits. We all have bad habits. We all have quirks and things like that. If you don't know or think of anything, then go to somebody that you trust. Don't go to just about anybody. Go to somebody that you trust, a family member, a good close friend, and so forth. And ask them point blank, be honest. What are my habits? What are my weaknesses? And just let them blurt it out and write it down on a piece of paper. And we're going to dig a little deeper in the future. So now let's take a quick look at your personality and pinpoint some weaknesses. And type in your 4 letters. And if you go to the top link, normally it is located at personalitypage.com/your4letters.html. So if you don't see personalitypage.com at the very top, which you should, they're very high and ranked, just type that in, personalitypage.com/letter.html. So in this case, I'm going to click on the ESFJ. And make sure you read through here, but in this case, we're going to go straight to the ESFJ relationships section and go under strengths and weaknesses. Now, it's good to know your strengths. Obviously, you might find strengths that you never thought you really had, but it's often the case that it's harder to look inside and see what kind of strengths and weaknesses you have until somebody else tells you that knows you very well. So if you go to the strengths section, as you can see, the ESFJ weaknesses, the E stands with extroversion, S sensing, F feeler, and J judger, or routines and so forth. Weaknesses: generally uncomfortable with change and moving into new territories. Extreme dislike of conflict and criticism. Needs a lot of positive affirmation to feel good about themselves. May overly status conscious and interested on seeing how others see them. Have difficulty time ending a relationship. Have difficulty accepting negative things. And don't pay enough attention to their own needs. And may use guilt manipulation to get what they want. So let's take, for example, this profile here. We can see that the ESFJ, the weaknesses that they have is that they're uncomfortable with change and moving into new territories. They are extremely dislike of conflict and criticism, and basically are motivated when other people give them motivation to feel good about themselves. So knowing this can be an issue, and this can be a roadblock, because if you're trying to make a decision and you're trying to focus on something and you rely too heavily on other people, then that can be a problem. Because when you try to give yourself accountability to yourself, to be self-motivated, self-accountable, then if you're too accountable to other people, then you can eventually fail, because there will be times in the decision-making process and trying to get something done that it's only you and you alone that needs to push forward. So knowing that kind of weakness, I could even work on that weakness, and whatever weaknesses that you have, you could be working on that too. Now, let's take a different flip side, and let's say something like, go back to Google, and we're going to say something like something totally opposite, INTP. So if I type that in, you see personality page up here. I'm going to click on that. And this is the thinker, total opposite from the ESFJ. So if I go down here, click on INTP relationships, and you go down to weaknesses, it says weaknesses: not naturally in tune with other feelings, slow to respond to emotional needs, not naturally good at expressing their own feelings and emotions. So right there we can see a communication situation, tends to be suspicious and distrusting of others, which can be a good thing. Not usually good at practical matters such as money management unless their work involves these concerns. They have difficulty leaving bad relationships and tend to blow off conflict situations by ignoring them, or else they blow up in heated anger. So in this case, the INTP, as you can see, they are not threatened by conflict or criticism. So that's quite the opposite of the ESFJ, which is a good thing. They're not threatened by it, but usually at this point, as you can see here, not in tune of other people's feelings and emotions. So if you're dealing with a situation where you're dealing with people and you're an INTP, then you need to be aware of that. If you're aware of that weakness and you're trying to move forward with a project and you're dealing with, let's say, a feeler or some sort of ESFJ, ESFP, ESF something, or ENFJ or anything like that, then you need to be in tune of trying to be communicative to understanding both perspectives. Now, INTPs are generally good at self-motivation, so that can be a plus. So as you can see, very, very opposite, but at the same time, there are weaknesses and downsides as well. So the whole idea here is just to figure out your weaknesses. There's nothing wrong with weaknesses. We're all weak in some sort of area. So if you can figure out your weaknesses, then you can understand how it can impact or become a roadblock or a bad habit that could be blocking you from making a decision, implementing a decision, and so forth, or working in a team to make that happen. So that's that, and make sure you write this down and write out solutions so that you can begin to resolve this. And just be aware of this. You don't have to resolve this right away, but be aware of this so that you can understand how to tackle these situations.